Hey, guess what's coming out soon? The new live-action Little Mermaid starring Halle Bailey. I know live-action Disney movies can be pretty divisive, but when is a better time to appreciate the original Little Mermaid, the movie that started the Disney Renaissance? So, who should we cover? Ariel? Nope, already did that. How about Sebastian? No. Oh, how about Ursula? Well, darn. Who's left? Maybe Scuttle? Before we start, don't forget to check out our Discord, our coffee page, and like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, all the things. It really helps us out. Leonard Hacker was born in 1924 in Brooklyn, New York. Growing up, he used humor to defend himself against kids who teased him about his height and weight. In high school, he played on the football team, and during the summers, he would work at vacation resorts in the Catskill Mountains in northern New York. As a waiter, he learned how to keep people laughing. Eventually, he was good enough that he was hired on as a tumbler. As such, he was expected to entertain guests on stage, poolside, at the dinner table, on the dance floor, or wherever the opportunity arose.
But I did everything, I was also a busboy and a waiter and a steward and bellhop. I did everything.
Hackett apprenticed in his father's upholstery business for a while and then served in the military in World War II. After 3 years of service, he returned home where he saw the original Broadway production of the musical Oklahoma, which inspired him to make show business his life. And I get it, because have you seen the Hugh Jackman version? Hackett's first job after the war was at the Pink Elephant, a Brooklyn club. It was here that he changed his name from Leonard Hacker to the one we know and love, Mr. Knucklebuck. Buddy Hackett. Insecure about his own material, Hackett first started performing with routines that were written for him. He could never make the material work and was consistently playing to unsatisfied houses. Realizing that he needed to develop his own material, Hackett ended up writing routines for himself that were much more successful, mainly because they were funnier.
I'll tell you the first joke I told. I told it to a club owner, and he said, tell it on stage, and here's the joke.
Wonder if they'll hear this at home.
Well, they probably will. I was in the army, I had a colonel named Fat Ass Johnson. But no one called him that. Nobody would take a chance, but I once called him it by accident. I was working in the motor pool. That's where they keep trucks and jeeps, and the phone rang. And I was just a recruit. I'm not supposed to touch the phone, but I picked up, hello? And the voice said, soldier, what vehicles have you got available? I said, 6 trucks, 7 jeeps, an M8 armored car and a half-track, and Fat Ass Johnson's command car. And the voice said, soldier, have you any idea who you're talking to? I said, no, sir. He said, this is Colonel Johnson. I said, Colonel, have you any idea who you're talking to? He said, no. I said, bye-bye, fat ass.
With his agent's help, he started getting gigs at prominent East Coast clubs like the Riviera, where he was a hit. Sensing that there were too many stand-up acts on the East Coast, Hackett headed to California. The place where no one is trying to be famous. He quickly emerged on the West Coast as a fearless stand-up ready to take on any topic for a laugh. Nightclub audiences loved the bizarre juxtaposition between the comedian's short stature, he stood 5 feet 6 inches tall, infantile high-pitched voice, and the crude, often lewd language and imagery of his monologues. Hey, maybe I should try that. Big booty! Or perhaps not. By the mid-1950s, he was selling out prestige rooms all over the country and earning more than $3,000 a week. In an appearance on The Tonight Show in 1959, Hackett told host Jack Parr that he thought people found him funny because he came across as a cartoon rather than as a person. Hackett's movie career began in 1950 with a 10-minute World of Sports reel for Columbia Pictures called King of the Pins.
Let you in on a secret, folks. This is the first time this guy's picked up a bowling ball. You picked out that ball yourself, buddy. Now it looks like you're stuck with it. Give this guy a chance and he'll put his foot in it every time. Hey, maybe this should have been a wrestling picture.
Toilet humor and frank sexual storytelling were Hackett's trademarks, but they weren't the only controversial aspects of his work. The comedian's most popular stand-up bit was probably his extended first-person monologue as a Chinese waiter. The laughs came principally from dialect humor, which we will not play on here since times have drastically changed since the 50s. The routine was such a hit that Hackett made a recording of it and was hired to reprise it in the Universal International musical Walking My Baby Back Home 1953, in which he was third billed under Donald O'Connor and Janet Leigh. Hackett was an emergency replacement for the similarly billed Lou Costello in 1954. So that should put to rest any questions about who was on first and what was on second. Abbott and Costello were set to make a feature-length comedy, Fireman Save My Child, featuring Spike Jones and his City Slickers.
Well, Hinkle, I'm sorry, but I was afraid it would be too difficult for you.
It's all finished.
It's all...
Sure, it was easy. I was brought up on a fireman's manual. My grandfather helped my father to teach it to me.
Well, you did make one mistake, though. You see, it's not Ordinance 2023 that forbids the manufacture of inflammable materials in buildings of D class. No, it's Ordinance 1246.
Oh, no. It was 1246 until 1898. Then it became 2023.
In 1956, he was cast in the title role of Stanley, a National Broadcasting Company sitcom set in a hotel newsstand. Hackett had difficulty sticking to the script, throwing in off-the-cuff one-liners at will and refusing to pay attention to the problems he created for co-star Carol Burnett or the show's production personnel, who had a schedule of commercials to follow during the live broadcast. The series was canceled before the end of the season. He gave a well-regarded performance as a crude Southern rustic in God's Little Acre in 1958, an adaptation of the American writer Erskine Caldwell's novel.
I don't want to court her. I want to marry her.
You would, Pluto? You mean it?
I'd cut off my right arm to marry her.
His performance in the screen version of The Music Man in 1962 as Marcellus Washburn, a con man from Brooklyn following the straight and narrow in Iowa, is one of the film's highlights. And yes, this song came from Music Man, not Family Guy.
Shapoopy, shapoopy, shapoopy. The girl who's hard to get. Shapoopy, shapoopy, shapoopy.
But you can't break her yet.
Walk her once just to raise the curtain. Walk around twice and you make for certain. Once more in a flower garden, she will never get soft, you beg her pardon.
He even had a cameo appearance in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World in 1963, where he was paired with our bestie Mickey Rooney.
You take the controls.
I don't know how to fly an airplane.
Well, it's really nothing to it.
But Becky, you can't fly.
Well, that's nonsense. Anybody can fly a plane. Now, here, I'll check you out. Put your little hands on the wheel. There, that's it. Now you have it. Now the feet on the rudder. You got it? There you go. Feet on the rudder. That's not it. Who says this boy can't fly this old plane? There you go. Now I'm going to make the old-fashioned way, the way dear old Dad used to.
What if something happens?
What can happen to an old-fashioned, all right?
Now we come to the part we've all been waiting for. What does Buddy Hackett have to do with animation? Well, let me tell you. In 1968, he played the lovable hippie auto mechanic Tennessee Steinmetz in The Love Bug.
Wait a minute. May I speak to the gentleman, please? I spent some time up on a Chinese-type mountain teaching English to some of them.
You taught English?
Let's don't get personal.
In 1979, Hackett was the voice of the groundhog Pardon Me Pete and the narrator of the Rankin Bass Christmas special Jack Frost.
Me and my shadow, not a soul to tell our troubles to.
Also, just going back to our bestie Mickey Rooney, who voices Santa Claus in a lot of these. Just a fun fact. And most famously, he played Scuttle the Seagull in The Little Mermaid in 1989.
Mermaid off the port bow!
Buddy Hackett gives Scuttle the Seagull the personality of a nerve-damaged vaudevillian. His fast-paced salesman pitch performance gives us wonderful additions to the English language, such as Dinglehopper and Snarflat.
This I haven't seen in years. This is wonderful. A banded, bulbous Snarflat.
Oh.
Now, the Snarflat dates back to prehistorical times when humans used to sit around and stare at each other all day. Got very boring.
As well as one of the most romantic solos put to film. Scuttle even has a couple songs, One was written by Buddy Hackett himself, but never recorded. Luckily, we have the keys to the Disney vault.
He's saying, you'll never know what lonely is till you sit by yourself on a rock and the other creatures swim away and the sun begins to drop. In my life, I flew the world, saw the 7 seas. Now the things I've seen and done are only memories. Oh, Ariel, friend Ariel, you mean so much to me. Where do you go? What do you do beneath this mass of blue? Somehow, some way, some wondrous day, when magic meets the sea, my only wish will be, oh, Ariel, friend Ariel, take me, take me, take me, and fluttered the wings and put his head under his arm. I sang it for them, and they said, it's such a pretty song, but the action in the picture goes so fast right after that. It's the fight on the deck of the ship.
But let's go back a bit because we skipped a couple of things. As you can see from the song that Buddy wrote for Scuttle, he was quite a poet. In 1974, Hackett published a book of his poetry, The Naked Mind of Buddy Hackett.
I wrote a book called The Naked Mind of Buddy Hackett, and that's not what I wanted to call it. I wanted to call it I was going along nicely when I came to a fork in my head.
That's a much better title.
But if you want me to do one of the poems, I'll try to remember one.
In 30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds? This is for my mother and father's 50th wedding anniversary. 50 years together, the golden numbers shine. The years have passed, life's mellowed to the acme of its time. Love is all around us, and it's been here all the while, though the battles that we've won and fought can hardly bring a smile. For who knows where love doth end and that plague of boredom starts, nor can we find it anywhere except deep inside our hearts. Once I took your arm for comfort and the pleasure of your touch, and later on I leaned upon it, a tender loving crutch. Once I smiled and poured wine for you, fuel for passion's fire. Now again a drop or two so you won't notice when I tire. I know your lovely wrinkled face. I know your lovely time-worn face. I know each wrinkle there. I recognize nature's penmanship, how formed for what and where. Yes, the number 50 loometh like a big clock overhead, and I've loved you every moment. God willing, I'll love you when I'm dead. We're human, so we realize all our days are numbered. But we will love and laugh and drink again when the angels write 100.
In 1978, Hackett delivered a dramatic performance as Lou Costello in the television movie Bud and Lou, opposite Harvey Korman as Bud Abbott. The film told the story of Abbott and Costello, and he and Korman did a rendition of the team's famous Who's on First routine.
Let's start over.
Yeah.
Who's playing first?
Yes?
I mean the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
What are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Who is on first?
Well, go ahead, tell me.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who?
Has your team got a first baseman?
Well, certainly.
Well, I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base?
No. What is on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Well, don't change the players around.
I'm not changing anybody.
Well, now take it easy. Just take it easy, Costello.
Now, what's the guy's name on first base?
Now, what's the guy's name on second base?
I don't know.
He's on third. We're not talking about him.
How could I get on third base?
You mentioned his name.
I mentioned the third baseman's name. Who did I say is playing third base?
Oh, who is playing first?
Stay off of first base, will you?
Please. What is it you want to know?
What is the fella's name on third base?
What is the fella's name on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base.
Obviously, Buddy did countless other talk show appearances, guest star roles, and Vegas appearances throughout his life, including when he appeared with Don Rickles on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. In other words, Scuttle and Mr. Potato Head sat on the same couch at one point. Unfortunately, that all came to an end when he passed away in 2003 at his home in Malibu, California. He was 78. Buddy Hackett's life and career should be an inspiration to aspiring comedians everywhere. He had an amazing ability to create comedy off the cuff, and he had an impressive dedication to developing his own style. Fellow Las Vegas veteran Steve Lawrence explained to Tom Valance of The Independent, Buddy was an innovator. In his time, he was the most creative comic that I've ever seen. He was also a groundbreaker with a lot of taboos we grew up with, but he always did it in a way that was hysterical.
Oh, I can't make out a heartbeat.
Thank you to these people for supporting us on Patreon and Ko-fi. And if you want to make sure this channel sticks around, you can check out our Ko-fi link in the description. Every bit helps. Thank you for watching this episode of Discographies. Click the thumbs up button below if you liked it. And if you want to be notified when the next episode comes out, consider subscribing and hitting the bell. Comment below with characters you would like to see us cover. Further reading and references are linked below. We hope to see you in another Discography.